your true self means, sounds like, and looks like. I'm your host, Carlin E. Tapia, coach, speaker, educator, and certified practitioner. I'll put more info of my work and what I do in the show notes. Feel free to contact us. My team would love to schedule a guest on my podcast. I have exciting plans for this, and I am ready to serve you. This podcast is designed to help you break free from fear or toxic stress and grow into the most confident, empowered version of yourself. If you're feeling stuck, uncertain, or overwhelmed, you've come to the right place. Hello, Sheila. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation.
Of course. I am dying to get to know you. Just want to start off with, like, who are you and what do you offer this world and where are you located?
My name is Sheila Rempel and I live near Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I have been in direct sales for over 24 years. I used to be in the medical field prior to that and burnt out. And so direct sales kind of became the place for me. And in the process, I have really experienced a massive transformation, as I think most people do when they take it seriously. And what I offer the world, I like to work with a couple of groups of women. So I've got a couple of businesses, and with my direct sales business, it's working with mainly working moms who are needing skincare and solutions like that for good self-care. And then with my other business, which is just new, it is leading women who are entrepreneurs as well, leading them from almost like a defeated mindset over into a victorious mindset, because that's something that I had struggled with for a long time and figured out with lots of help how to move from that into the victorious mindset. So that's a little bit about me.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for your work. I know myself how much I've invested in just my mindset and my healing journey in and just becoming the person that I am today, and I'm still growing. So I love it. Thank you for just leading more women like that.
You're welcome. It's never ending. It'll just be ongoing until the moment that we graduate into heaven. So
Yes. So I typically bring people on because I want to give people practical tools to take next brave steps forward. Which one would be the one that you recommend the most, or your favorite one? How do you make impact with those steps? If you can be a little bit more specific.
Okay. Well, first of all, you really have to have a deep desire to change. If you don't have a very deep desire to change, you'll try a little bit and then you'll just give up, saying it doesn't work. So you need to have that really soul deep level of wanting transformation. When you're there, then you will make quality decisions and you will move into what it is that you need to do. You'll take the courses that you need to take. You'll see any therapists or counselors that you need to see. You'll read the books that you need to read. You'll give up things that most people aren't willing to give up. You'll do things most people aren't willing to do. And that, I think, has got to be the starting point for any journey to move towards a better version of yourself. And for me, years ago, it was this thought popped into my head: what kind of an example are you setting for your children? And I didn't like the answer. So that became the driving force for me to make change, was so that I could become the type of mom that my kids would look up to and would want to have a relationship with.
That is beautiful. I think of how lately I've been thinking about just the role of taking, like, motherhood and how that would change my life, because little people are looking up to me. And when you made that decision, was it also for you as well, though, or was it?
Oh, yeah. It had to be, right? I had to believe that I was worthy of putting the time and the effort in for changing, because inside of my head, the only way I could describe it back then, it was a hot mess. And the thinking was very chaotic, and I had no idea I was the one responsible for all of it. And the day that I read, I think it was Mahatma Gandhi's code, and it's like, be the change you want to see in the world. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks that all of a sudden it came to me, you mean I'm the one who's responsible? If I want a better life, I got to be. And it was just like, oh, I get it. And so that was just a huge moment for me. And my children, when you have children, more is caught than taught. so I mean, they can hear the words, and it's like Charlie Brown's teacher going, want, 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 want. But when you do what you say you're going to do, and they see you putting one foot in front of the other, and they see you falling down and getting back up, and they see you persevering, and that just teaches them life lessons that they can't catch any other way. And so being a mom is the greatest gift. It's the greatest honor. My kids are now all adults, and I have a grandchild, and she's 5. And I am so thankful that I know what I know, because I can impact her in a totally different way without her even knowing it.
When you're surrounded by people that are growth minded or successful, there's a lot of statistics showing that just being around them influences you. So,
oh, absolutely. If you want to become a better person, a different person, a more empowered person, and you're not surrounded by people who are like that, you're going to have to change your circle and put them on timeout. I mean, I come from a larger family. There's 6 in total in my family, 5 siblings, and I only have one sister, and my sister was on a timeout for many, many years. Many years. She didn't know she was on a timeout. She was just not the type of person I needed to be around, because she was so negative and so crabby and miserable. Nope, don't need to be in your space. So
yeah, no, I've experienced that myself, just putting some boundaries with my own family for about 6 months. I remember this was 4 years ago.
okay.
And yeah, they got really upset, but I explained, I'm like, I need time to heal, and you guys are not really helping. And then, yeah, I think then my sister put me, like, then it switched, and I understood. And now we've all had our own healing journey separately, and so it's beautiful to come together. We come together only, and this is great talking about it, because the holidays is coming. It's great to be together for a while, maybe 3-5 days, but then we all have our ways of thinking, and that's okay. And especially, I'm a believer, I'm a follower of Jesus, and so I just crave and desire my family to be that way, but at the end of the day, I can't force them.
No,
So
no. All you can do, and I am as well, Carlin, and I'm so glad that you said that, because all we can do is be the example. We can just love them. That's all he called us to do. He didn't call us to judge anybody. He called us to love. And so when we love, and a big thing is asking him to help us see them the way he sees them. And when you start looking at it like that, it helps you to understand, because we all have wounds. They're all very deep. And until we start inviting him to come in and heal those wounds, well, they're just going to keep festering, and they're going to get worse, right? And so they don't need people telling them what's wrong. They need people to love them.
yeah, exactly. And so even with family, even though it hurts sometimes, it's really taking inventory of our relationships. It just affects you differently, who you're surrounded with, who you marry. And so those are all big decisions, but I've seen it with my life. I've seen it just how my life shifted when I started just taking out people and then bringing and making space for new people. And my life has really changed drastically. And so one of the tools that I teach my clients, I draw circles and I visually tell them, what does that look like practically? Because there are people that are in the inner circle where they see you in your messiest, they see you in your vulnerablest. And so as it progresses out the circles, those are people that are acquaintances or people that you necessarily don't invite to your home or to your bed. So I love teaching that. I love teaching that to women who sometimes it's hard for them to say no, and people please a lot.
Yeah, that is such a slippery slope. To be a people pleaser. I'm a reformed people pleaser. I just always wanted everybody to be happy, and I always wanted everybody to like me. And then once I understood, once he started doing the healing work, it's just like it, Sheila, not everybody's going to like you. They're not supposed to like you. And I don't know where this came from. I know one of my mentors shared it some time ago, and she said, we're only ever going to really truly connect with 25% of the people we'll ever meet. The other 75% we're not meant to connect with. And that was such a freeing thing for me at that point in time, that knowing I didn't have to bend over backwards to try to make people like me. If they didn't like me, oh well, big deal. So what, right? And move along because you're going to meet the next one who might.
How,
So, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, how old are you? If you
Oh,
don't
gosh, that's okay. I'm 58.
Okay. Yeah, I like to bring attention to that because a lot of older people that I've experienced and just met sometimes don't want to put that inner work in just because, well, I've heard that it's just they don't trust therapists. They come from a mindset that they also have problems. Why would I tell them my problems if they have problems? And so can you speak on that a little bit?
Well, I have seen a couple of counselors over the years, and last one I met, he was phenomenal Christian counselor. He was just so wise. He was older than me, had been in practice a long time, and his whole idea was with the first time that we met is he said, "Okay, by the end, I'll ask you what percentage. I'm going to have you grade me, and if it's 70% or greater, then we can work together, and if not, then you'll find somebody else." And by the end, when he asked, I said, "Oh, heck, you passed with flying colors." He's like, "I did." But it's because I've always known from the time I was very little that I was different. Somehow I couldn't never put a finger on it. I was different. I didn't know how. And when I look back, I'm like, gosh, I'm the only believer in my whole entire family, both sides, the only one. And I'm like, maybe that was it. I don't know. But I remember as a young girl, I was raised in a Catholic household. And at the age of 8 is what they call a sacrament of reconciliation. So you have to go into the confessional and you have to talk to the priest and tell him all the wrong, bad stuff you did. And then he gives you so many Our Fathers, so many Hail Marys, and all that kind of stuff. You pray those and then you're forgiven, kind of a thing, and I remember that little 8-year-old thinking to myself, well, why can't I just go straight to God and talk to him? I knew I couldn't tell my mom that. I knew I couldn't ask for that because I knew I'd get in trouble.
Wow.
So I'm thinking somewhere, somehow, God had his hand on me.
I believe that. Yeah, I also had a relationship with God really early on. I was 7 years old, and I thank God for that because that relationship with him helped me overcome a lot of things that happened to me throughout the years. And so I do believe that we do have that connection with God as babies, as kiddos, and then
Oh, heck yeah.
start, maybe 8, 9, 10, we start just drifting apart because no one is teaching us, no one is modeling to us. So
Yeah. There's so many. I mean, I was not a believer when my kids were born. I became a believer in 2002, and then I was water baptized a few years later. I just didn't understand the whole process. I was so green, if that makes any sense. Even though I'd been in the Catholic Church up until the time I was a young adult and stuff, it didn't mean anything at all, nothing. So I had to learn all over again. And had I known then what I know now, of course, as with everybody, things would have been so very different. But that's okay because he takes us through these challenges, and he always works things together for our good. And the more knowledge, the more that we get to know his word, the better.
I used to not want to read the word because I came out of a very legalistic church, and they would track if I was reading the Bible. So as an adult, when I left that, I would get I would just feel like I was there again if I did that, if I practiced spiritual discipline, because they distorted anything good, they were distorting it and making it bad. And so I would get so frustrated because I'm like, God, I really want to get to know you, but every time I do this, I feel obligated. And it's just like it's a weird feeling. It's mixed feelings. I want you, but I don't want to read the Bible, until I found another version of the Bible that's
Mhm.
the Passion version.
Oh, love
And
it.
I hear a lot of things about it, but at the end of the day, that's what's gotten me closer to God. And the language is always changing. And I don't really believe that U version or Bible scholars would let that Passion version come through if it was really bad or they were distorting the Bible or anything like that. So I'm grateful for people who translate the Bibles, because I can finally feel like I'm just getting to know God even more. It's so important to know God and to know what the Word says. If not, people really do use platforms to I don't know why, but to lie, to get control of people, to lead them a different way.
Would you like to know what I've learned?
Yes.
The enemy is the prince of the airwaves. He's the father of this fallen world. And so he will use anybody and everybody, and he will use religion. He will, because religion is man made, it's not from God. And so he will use anybody. And that's why when you see those things happening, it's the enemy working through them. And when I started learning all of these things, I'm like, oh my gosh. So we as believers must be very diligent in getting the word in, regardless of which version it is. If it's a version that speaks to your heart, he'll speak to you through it,
Right.
right? That whole legalistic religious mindset, that's from the enemy. And that has to be banished. And we have to banish it ourselves, get rid of it, refuse it. No, because I grew up with that. And my mom still is an excellent example of that. And so it's very difficult to have conversations with her when it comes to these sorts of things, because what she believes is the indoctrinated version that the Catholic Church teaches. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's interesting to know that he's given us control over this earth. If you go to Genesis 1:26 and 28, he's given us dominion over the earth and over everything. And so when we truly understand that, and we know who we are in him, that's when our authority starts to work. And it's a process for each and every one of us different. So I don't know if that helps you at all, but
It does.
yeah,
It's
good.
confirmation. I recently, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, this is my fifth time reading the whole entire Bible." And now that I feel ready for that, I started reading. Now I'm like, I want to say that, but in 90 days. So I'm reading the whole Bible in 90 days, and I'm reading Genesis and exactly that. And I'm like, wow, he gave us power and to steward the world. What a great God. And so that's very just confirmation. And I was going to say something and I totally forgot. Just that you were saying about your mom.
About the religious spirit.
It makes me ignited to really, it's like, I think it's our job. That's why he calls us like ambassadors and saints. It's our job to go out and spread the real version of him
Yeah.
with our life. And so
Yeah.
I feel, oh, okay. And that's when we get so ignited to walk in our authority. And that's what I've been experiencing. Even in my business, it's been changing a lot. I used to just focus on clinical and I didn't want to mention God. And now I'm like, I have to, I can't. And
Yeah.
so I've been seeing a shift in a lot of ways of people that I'm serving now. And it's just changes because people are seeing, I don't know, the ignited version of Carlin instead of just the clinical person.
Right. Yeah. You're letting his light shine through you. That is so cool. And when we do that, that's what he asks us to do. We're his ambassadors. You mentioned that word. And when you think of an ambassador, what do you think? Well, they're the representative of that country. So we're heaven's representatives down here on earth. And how would he want us to act? How would he want us to show people his example? Because that's truly what he wanted us to do, is think like he thinks, speak like he speaks, act like he acts, right? Be a bunch of little Jesuses around the world, but with our own flavor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I got to the point where I wanted to do that though. I remember saying like, well, I don't want to be Jesus. Like that's Jesus and that's what he did. I don't want to love everybody. And I think it took just feeling empty and tired of living my way. I think
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Well, you know what? Good for you for reaching that at such a young age. So many people don't reach that ever, and you reach that at a young age. And so that is so cool because he's going to be able to use you for a long time.
It's really sweet. I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah. I think like, oh, I've missed so many years with him because I was in that cold, but no, he redeems it.
Yeah. He's not limited by time or anything. He can make things happen like that. And so, like you said, he redeems, right? If that, what is it? Proverbs. I'm trying to think. Proverbs 8 something. I could be totally wrong, but somewhere in Proverbs is, if the thief be found, he shall restore sevenfold what he stole. And so it's like, okay, look out, Satan, because we're taking it back. Yeah, sevenfold. We're going to bankrupt the devil.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, his word is just when you are willing to dive into it. And sometimes it's just, I find myself as I'm following the Holy Spirit's leading, sometimes it's just one sentence, one piece of scripture, and it's just rolling it around. Before I used to set a timer and think I have to race through and I have to read X number of no, no, no. He wants a relationship with us. That's number one to him is a relationship with us. And so he wants us to go slowly through things, then we go slowly through things. If he wants us to go quickly through things, then we go whatever he says, that's what we do.
Exactly. That's what one thing that I've been really mindful of when I'm doing this 90-day plan because I don't want to do it as a religious person, like, oh, I just have to do it. And so I've been careful about that. And sometimes I don't finish all the chapters and I'm not hard on myself. I'm like, okay, I'll pick it back up. But at least I just wanted to have like a plan, a goal, that I'm not tempted to just not read at all. I work best with a plan. So
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think most of us do is having some sort of a plan. My business coach, gosh, a year and a half ago introduced me, and she was new to me then, introduced me to a six-step practice that the Lord had her modify from a practice out in the world. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hal Elrod's Six Miracle Morning. So 6 steps. And it was like when she introduced this concept to me, I'm like, hey, I've been practicing his, but I just feel empty. And she goes, so did I. And she said, and the Lord took me through. And so each step now is got God at the center. And it's totally different. And it's just helped to really move my spiritual walk forward, to deepen my relationship with him. And do I do exactly everything 10 minutes per step? Do I always do 10 minutes every day? No. And if I don't, if I slept in for whatever reason or life happened or whatever, I do what I can. And I think he honors that. He knows our hearts. And so when we're not going, I must do this, that's where that whole religious spirit comes in. And so I'm very thankful to be rid of that thing because that was not fun. It showed up everywhere.
no, I get it. And it's so hardwired in our brains. I have to literally remind myself, like, Carlin, he knows your heart. Like, he is right here with you.
Yep.
He sees you. So it's okay. It's gonna be okay.
Exactly. It's that whole self-coaching thing, right? And that's an important skill that everybody needs to learn. They probably do it to some extent. I know I would do it in a negative extent prior to like beating yourself up.
Right.
Thing, right? And then when I learned how to do it exactly the opposite, I'm like, oh, this is so much better.
Works better that way.
Yeah. Well, and then it helps you to show up with joy. Regardless of your circumstances, you're showing up with joy when you're connected to him. He is the vine, we are the branches. So when you're connected to him, you're plugged into his power source. That allows you to show up with joy no matter what life's thrown at you. And that example really impacts the people in our lives because we're not falling apart like a $2 suitcase kind of a thing. we're, keeping our joy, we're able to go, okay, well, all right, how can we turn this around? Or, you start looking at it like that, and it empowers you because he's with you. So he's not going to steer you wrong.
Yes, it's that I teach. My work is based on resilience. And that's it. That's a wrap, you guys. Thank you so much for being here today and for giving me the privilege to speak over your life and for you receiving the gift of growth. Remember, every step you take forward, no matter how small or big, you are truly moving forward to who you're truly meant to be. Embrace the journey because the process of becoming is just as powerful as the destination. And in today's episode, if something sparked in you, a question, anything, a goal, an idea, hold on to that. Let it be the nudge you need to take brave steps forward toward the life that's calling you. You don't have to have it all figured out to start. You just need to take that next step. And I'll be here cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time, keep going. Hey, and do me a favor, share this episode with one friend or on social media. Let's bring more awareness to taking brave steps forward together.